Michelle, are you ready?
I was born ready.
She's an award-winning author, speaker, and podcast host who serves on the National Faith Advisory Council. She supported Donald J. Trump for president before it was cool, from her she shed in her beautiful backyard. This is the Michelle Moore Show.
Trophies have turned to rust. People have let me down. Who can I trust? I found earth's riches, but I lost my own worth. When I hit rock bottom, to whom else could I turn? It's all for nothing if it's not all for you, all for you. I'm merely existing if I'm not existing to worship you. 'Cause kingdoms fall and reigns will end, empires crumble and left in ruins. It's all for nothing if it's not all for you. All for you, Jesus. In you I found the greater love. You are my firm foundation, in whom I place my trust. I found heaven's when you told me my word, you alone give words of life. To whom else could I turn? It's all for nothing if it's not all for you, all for you. I'm merely existing if I'm not existing to worship you. 'Cause kingdoms fall, reigns will end, empires crumble and left in ruins. It's all for nothing if it's not all for you, Jesus. This life is a vapor, just a breath away. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust, we all return to clay. Don't let my life be a drink offering. Hold me out any way that you please. Without you, Jesus, it's all for nothing. It's all for nothing if it's not all for you, all for you. I'm merely existing if I'm not existing to worship you. 'Cause kingdoms fall, reigns will end, empires crumble and left in ruins. It's all for nothing if it's not all for you, Jesus.
Hi, everybody. So glad that you're with us today. Oh, my goodness. So I told producer Ron, I said, oh, today's October the 3rd, and we're on at 3, the 3rd at 3. And He just says, yes. I don't know. I just thought it was clever. But anyways, hello, family. I am so excited to be with you this afternoon. Producer Ron and I were praying right before the show. And, he was just thanking God even for our time with the viewers. And I was like, yes, that is so true. We're just thankful for our time together. I saw where Christ Believer is able to watch live today. I want you to know we were praying for you this morning. Christ Believer, producer Ron called me and we prayed together for you. I'm so glad to hear that I'm assuming you're not in the hospital right now. So that would be great news. I saw where you said, I'm lucky to be alive. I don't know that I would say lucky because our steps are ordered of the Lord. I would say that God's not done with you yet. You still have purpose here. And I'm certainly believing that, about you and for you. So Pierre's mom, one says, got a rave about the Yoni soap and cream. Fantastic. I have a very close friend that she tested this for me early on. And I mean, like before it was released. And she raves about it as well. And I said, what's so great about it? Because I don't really get it. And so she said she had like vaginal drying and said that the yoni cream, the soap and the cream, what it did was just helped you to feel healthy, just healthy. And so she helped me to understand a lot of what that actually a product does. Eve, of course, talked with me about it, but this friend, I just happened to know some things. You know how sometimes girlfriends talk. And so she had made a comment like a couple of years ago, and I just never forgotten about it, but I didn't really know what she meant. So that's why I called and talked with her. And so we get some rave reviews about that. The soap and the cream, we sell quite a bit of that. And anyways, so I think that's the product, though, where I had one lady who I think is widowed, and she was like, I don't want to feel like I'm feeling. I don't remember if it was that or the wild yam. She was like, it just was not good for her because she was in the mood, so to speak. And so, and she said all the time. And so, anyways, producer Ron's probably like, where is this going? We're going to have to get a camera on producer Ron so we can all see the looks on his face. Anyways, okay, didn't plan on talking about that, but I do want to remind you about if you want to make a donation for Hurricane Helene, we are going again. I am planning. I'm thinking that this is going to be my last time. Just with everything going on with Godly Granny and everything else, I'm just feeling that way. And when I pray about it, I think this could very well be the last time that we go. We've done this for a year. They just had the 1-year anniversary to Hurricane Helene happening. And I'm just kind of feeling like this could be it. And so I'm, praying about it, always open to whatever God wants, but I'm pretty sure this is probably going to be it. The writing's on the wall. So if you want to donate, you can always, let's see, producer Ron, you got that? You can always do the Venmo or PayPal. In fact, we got a donation today. I think it was through, I don't remember if it was Venmo or PayPal, but just, thank you. You guys just, it's just amazing. And so God has really shown up and shown out and through this whole experience. And I think I was saying the other day, just that even my own relationship with God has grown through all of this and pressing in and just believing for the funds to be able to continue to keep helping. And God has really given me a heart, like in a million ways. It doesn't really probably make sense. Like I'd never even been to Swananoa, didn't really, I just think God's given me a heart for this and was called to it. But I am feeling like maybe this season is about done. So producer Ron, I don't know what's going on with the screen here. This is kind of weird. But anyways, okay, producer Ron, if you could please take that address down for me. Thank you so much for helping me to share that. Also, I wanted to remind you that if you are not signed up for the newsletter, the Truth Talk America newsletter comes out on the first Saturday of every month, and tomorrow is the first Saturday of this month. And so it is free. You can go to truthtalkamerica.com and you can sign up for it. We work really hard on this. In fact, my family's favorite soup that I make and all my tips and everything are in this month's newsletter. It comes out tomorrow. And so we share all kinds of stuff about that. So last week when we went out of town a little bit with the family, my mother-in-law watched our fur baby Flashmore. I got to tell you something. She said it was pitiful. He sat in front of the window, looking out the window in his car seat because it sits up a little bit higher. So we leave his car seat there for him. So if she has to take him anywhere, whatever. And so instead, she props it up for him, and he sat in it for 2 days. She said he wouldn't eat. He didn't really want to drink anything. She said all he wanted to do was sit in front of the window, looking and waiting for me. And I mean, it's just the whole family, everybody knows, like flashes, always right at my hip. And so it was so sad. Well, when I got him back, we got him back, and so he just was sad or not really acting right, and so I was getting really concerned, but he's back to himself, and so it's all good. And but it was just so sad. She goes, the first 2 days were no fun. But anyways, and so it's just amazing what happens with our fur babies and how attached they can be to us as well. I kept saying, I miss my baby. And my sons were like, we're right here. I'm like, no, the one that counts. But anyways, I like to give them a hard time. So make sure you're signed up for tomorrow's newsletter. Wanted to remind you about that. Okay, so I've been getting some emails, and this is usually like a time that lets me know that it's time to revisit this. I've been getting some emails about how to be able to get the instructions for ivermectin. So I just want to remind you, there's ivermectin and mebendazole. You can certainly send me an email, michelle@nashvillemichelle.com, and I'll be happy to send you the instructions. Sent a few people yesterday as well. But when they're sending them now, it's like, hey, I know that you probably have a plan or a program, and I, took advantage of this last year or this or that, and I need this for this reason or that reason. And they're not really sure like how to even get the instructions. And so they're emailing me and they're kind of fumbling into, well, you're doing exactly what you needed to do. And so I thought, okay, it's probably really past time for me to talk about that again. So I just want to remind you all, if you need some help with that, we can help you. It's just however we can help you. Of course, it's through Jace, and Jace has the Jace cases, and we got the coupon code to help you, whatever you need. But I just wanted to remind you about that as well. I really put them through the ringer because I was like, look, if my viewers need help, even with the C word, I don't want them having a hard time. And so I put them through the ringer to make sure that they assured me that you all would get the help that you needed. And so I just want to make sure you know that. And if you have any questions or any problems, I want you to send me an email, and I want to know about it so that we can get to the bottom of making sure that you get what you need for whatever reasons. Okay, so today we're going to talk about some health-related things. Monday, we'll talk about what's going on in the world. Don't really want to do that today. It's a Friday, and there's just always something. But I have gotten a number of videos together that I've been collecting, and I just was today in show prep time, I was just reminded of that vision where God said, I'm going to use you to help bring healing, to help my children, my people, my children, and so I just, I don't know. It's just on my heart. I have a number of things I've been collecting for you. I want to make sure you know these things. I know that many of people, send me emails and say, hey, I was just watching. I just got one, I guess, yesterday or today, where they were like, I was just watching your show back from January with Dr. Mackus. And, and look, people get cancer diagnosis and they start digging and looking, and then they find shows that we did months ago, or for one reason or another. So, or they start thinking about detoxing and they start digging and they come across our shows and information. And so they start reaching out, and that's all great. That's all good. Whatever it's supposed to be, whenever it's supposed to be. But I just wanted to touch base with you about that and make sure you know that if you need help, that we are here to help you. This is one of the biggest things that we do. It's not just Godly Granny and not just the show and not just the network. We work hard every day to make sure that you just got the information and the help that you need. I feel passionate about helping people get healthy and stay healthy. I believe it's part of my calling. And I think that's something that God has just really put that passion in me. So today we're going to go over some different videos and information that some of this stuff is absolutely shocking. Or it's like, oh, okay, there's the proof. So we're going to talk about some of that. The first thing is, what's critical or crucial for your health? Okay, if you had to pick one thing, what would that one thing be? If I had to say, can you pick one thing that would be crucial for your health? Here it is.
If any doctor ever tells you to stay out of the sun, you should fire that doctor immediately. 1,200 scientific research papers prove that the sun is crucial for our health, that you should never use sun protection product if you want to be healthy, and that you should go to the sun between 11 and 1 at the highest noon. Skin cancer is not an issue. There's only one important skin cancer. That's melanoma. And melanoma is protected thanks to the sun. The sun does not create melanoma. The sun protects us from melanoma according to science. And even if you are not scientist, as soon as I tell you that melanoma almost never happens on the face, because the face is always in the sun, that immediately should tell you that doctors have been lying to you. Because according to their logic, when they tell you to stay out of the sun because of melanoma, you should have melanomas on the face, shouldn't you? Because the face is in the sun more than any other part of your body. So that alone should be enough for even the most uneducated layperson to understand the big lie perpetrated by the sun protection industry.
Okay, if you're on X, which is formerly known as Twitter, I follow Jack Cruz, and Cruz is Kruse, and he talks about the sun all the time and how he's so brilliant anyways. And we played an interview that he did in its entirety months ago. He has a really interesting past, and just the way that his steps were really ordered of the Lord is amazing. It's just so on him. But there are some things about like the assassination of President Kennedy that he happened to know, and with other people that were involved. It was very interesting. But he is a brilliant man, in my opinion. He's on there. He's very, very active. But he's always talking about the sun and how we should be in the sun, the sunlight, the sun, the sun, the sun. So I think that's so interesting. Like this guy said, what's crucial for your health is the sunlight. And if you've got a doctor that says, get out of the sun, then you should be running and fire that doctor immediately. I will tell you, when we heard the whole thing with Fauci, how there were the news, midday news things, whatever they were doing. And, Trump and Fauci and Deborah Birx were on these news conferences and during the slowing of the spread. And I remember gasping the time that I heard them say to stay out of the sun. I literally gasped. And I said, oh my goodness, they're trying to kill us. And my mother-in-law came running in the room and she says, what? And I said, did you just hear that? Did you just hear that? And she said, no, what? What did they say? And I said, they just said, stay out of the sun. And I said, that makes no sense. The sun, like for plants to grow, for anything to grow, you got to get in the sunlight. And so since then, I've learned so much, even have you seen those photos online where it shows old, like in the late 1800s, early 1900s, where they show like a roof of a hospital and it's a flat roof and they had medical beds out there and patients who were very bedridden and sick are in there. And then there's another photo I've seen of cribs of babies out in a field behind a hospital. And it's, late morning and they're having the sun treatment. So it doesn't take a mastermind to figure out. The second they tell you to stay out of the sun, something's wrong. And so that's why we were seeing so many people also walking around, and they were walking their dog. And some of these people, I want to say idiots, really, putting a mask on their pet too. I mean, just insanity. And so some of these people really should sue their brains for non-support, because what fear will do is scary. And so it really just no words and I know most of my viewers feel the same. And so, but what happened is people bought into that. That's why they closed the playgrounds. They closed the beaches. Remember that? And so it's easy for us to forget. But the fact of the matter is you need sunlight. And so, okay. And while you're out there, might as well take your shoes off and put your feet in the dirt and ground at the same time. Okay, so with that just in mind, what he said, I came across this Barbara O'Neill video, and she starts talking about calcium and osteoporosis. Now, I know somebody is watching who is probably taking calcium pills or has osteoporosis or has a loved one or a friend or a family, and so that has osteoporosis. And so this video is very important. Let's take a look.
You can reverse osteoporosis. Don't take calcium supplements whatever you do. Have you noticed in aged care, all the old people are on calcium supplements and they've all got osteoporosis. Now do the maths.
What about vitamin D? Would you recommend that or Rogaine?
No, just go out in the sun. Bones are made of 12 minerals. They're made of boron, calcium, chromium, iron, magnesium, mangazine, silica, sulfur, and selenium, and potassium, and phosphorus, and zinc. That's what bones are made of. They're not made of calcium. Calcium hardens cement, does not harden bones. It hardens the tissue. It contributes to atherosclerosis. The Calcium Lie is a book by Dr. Robert Thompson. He says, we go to med school, we learn this. We come out of med school, the blinkers go up.
So you would never remember, and I can't remember the name of the med, but my doctor wanted me on it.
Fosimax? Fosimax. Don't touch it. Don't touch it. And start push-ups. Start plank. Start your resistance training. Start building up your muscles.
Okay. Very interesting. Natalie says, viewer Natalie says, me and the sun are besties. I love that. And Natalie's probably one of the happiest people I've ever met. She's always happy. I think that helps too. And so don't use sunglasses. We've shown videos about this before. So I forget what it does exactly, but it sends a message to your body to start producing a certain chemical or whatever, not a chemical, but a hormone or whatever it is. And what it does is keeps you from burning. So the sunglasses help you to burn. And then of course we know about seed oils. Now, what I would say about seed oils is I suspect, and this is what I've been learning from Eve as well. And this is where so much of this stuff, you have to really kind of take it all in, because we're trying to learn and we're trying to be educated, but sometimes there are details in some of the things. And what Eve says is that not all seed oils are bad. It's about the quality of the seed oil. And so is it the first press? And so just like, let's take the opposite effect, okay? So we've got Buffalo Wild Wings, as I've shown you the video from Bobby Parrish, where he went to Buffalo Wild Wings. We've got Steak and Shake. It's another national chain where they're like, oh, look at us. We're using beef tallow. Look at us. Look at us. We're so healthy. We're so healthy. Not so quick. So when you get to looking, the beef tallow they're using, you think, oh, it's so healthy. No, it's not. It's not healthy. It's overused, overprocessed beef tallow. So, and even when we've had Steve Jarvis on, and I've learned this because of, really with Godly Granny, we're looking at tallow products, and it has taken a long time to push forward with beef tallow products, because we're doing such a high grade, a high level. Remember when Steve Jarvis says, when you can go to Sam's Club and get a big jar or a 2-pack, 2 jars, and beef tallow is $19.99, run fast. It's the same level of beef tallow they're using at Buffalo Wild Wings and at Steak and Shake. It's total trash. And so, not all beef tallow is going to be equal. And it's the same thing with the seed oils. You can use a seed oil that's a first press that can be a great quality oil, and it isn't going to contribute to you having sunburn. But I absolutely believe that some of these high processed seed oils, they're going to absolutely contribute to that. And I think I saw that example with my own sons while we were living with my mother-in-law. And we'd sold our home and was looking to move. She was always frying chicken. So my kids are eating this stuff, 5-6 years ago before we knew. And so she's frying chicken and vegetable oil every day, all the time. My husband takes the kids to the pool, the Nashville Shores water park in town. And so comes home an hour and a half, 2 hours later. They weren't there long at all. And they were the worst sunburn I'd ever seen. And I said, did you not put, sunscreen on? And of course, that was before we knew about sunscreen. And so between the seed oils and the chemicals from the sunscreen, I saw some of the worst sunburn from the 3 of them that I had ever seen. And they weren't even, thank goodness they didn't stay long. Thank goodness. And so, but just be aware that just because something says that it has a seed oil in it doesn't mean that it's, horrific. And so, Talker Ride says, is black seed oil still recommended? As far as I'm aware, absolutely. In fact, we're looking at carrying a specific black seed oil. And so even I've been looking at that, and I know it's coming. So yes, black seed oil is a good thing. Okay, so, but we're rendering beef tallow. 1 cow does not do much. And so it's kind of shocking how little tallow you get just from 1 cow. And so and to have the high quality tallow. And so that's why $19.99, the math doesn't work. And so just so you know. Okay, so we're going to keep going. I'm going to play this video, and then we're going to talk about it after, because there's another part to this I want to share. So never drink a carbonated beverage with a meal. Take a look.
Carbonated beverage with a meal. Why is that, Dr. Glidden? Well, the bubbles in your carbonated beverage. By the way, I don't care if it's beer, champagne, soda water, Perrier, sparkling water, ginger ale, soda pop, anything at all that has bubbles in it. The bubbles are carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide has an interesting property. It reduces acidity. It neutralizes acids. Carbon dioxide neutralizes acids. So when you drink something with bubbles in it during a meal, you're neutralizing the stomach acid in your stomach. And this is not a good idea. In a healthy stomach, your stomach acid should be so strong that if you chopped off a finger and swallowed it, your stomach would digest it down to the bone. Your stomach is a bag of acid. The stronger the acid, the better. But when you drink a carbonated beverage immediately before or during a meal, you impede the digestive process of the stomach by neutralizing the stomach acid. Most people have weak stomach acid anyway, because in order to have strong stomach acid, you must be salting your food liberally. Your body needs the chloride that's in the salt to make strong hydrochloric acid. And you also need calcium in order to have the acid squirted into the stomach from the chief cells in the stomach. The chief cells make the hydrochloric acid and they squirt them out into the stomach. If you're calcium deprived, deficient in the trace mineral calcium, the introduction of hydrochloric acid into the stomach will be compromised. Now, most people have been told by their medical doctor to be on a salt-restricted diet, and most people are deficient in calcium. So most people's stomach acid is weak to begin with, and then when you pour a carbonated beverage into the stomach on top of weak acid, it's super weak, and you're not going to digest hardly anything out of your food.
Yeah. Okay. Now, the part I wanted to share too, do you remember about a month or 2 ago when we shared a video that was Barbara O'Neill, and she was talking about when she and her husband go out to eat? And she said that, when they go out to eat, that they, if the server says, can I bring you a drink? They just say, well, you just a water, but they don't drink the water. Because she was talking about not even drinking anything while you eat. And of course, I feel terrible because through the years, I was taught that we needed to be drinking while we ate. So that way it helped everything to process better. It kind of diluted it, so to speak. And come to find out, no, that's not the case at all. It's the exact opposite, just like everything else we've been taught. And so, but she talked about that. I just want to remind everybody, if you saw that video, but she talked about, we're not even supposed to be drinking any fluids while we're eating or right before. And so even though he's saying not to drink, and this man is a doctor, and he says not to drink any carbonated beverages, and why, she was saying don't drink any fluids while you're eating or just right before. So when I saw this video, it reminded me of that, and I just wanted to pass that along. All right, the next one is, why should you stop taking ibuprofen? Let's take a look.
Hey, Dr. Sessa. Why should you stop taking ibuprofen?
All right, so ibuprofen, everyone thinks that just because you can buy it in a pharmacy, it's like harmless. Not true. So ibuprofen can do 2 things that are really bad to you. So number 1, it can wreck your kidneys. I met people that have taken too much ibuprofen over the course of 3 to 4 days and needed kidney dialysis afterwards. And the reason for that is ibuprofen will cause changes in the blood flow to your kidneys. And when it changes the blood flow, it causes blood to back up in your kidney, and it causes congestion. And that chronic congestion in your kidneys will actually cause it to fail. So that's one. Number two is in your stomach. Chronic ibuprofen use will actually strip your stomach of its protective thin coat layer of mucus. And when that happens, it can cause GI bleeding, ulcers, and other gastrointestinal issues that are not good. So alternatives that you can take are bromelain, fish oil, arnica. All of these things are anti-inflammatory and will help reduce inflammation much better and healthier rather than loading up on ibuprofen.
Yeah, and if you look, some of our magnesium products on Godly Granny have arnica. And that is part of why, so that way it's an anti-inflammatory to help with inflammation and help you to, help with pain and relief. And so that's why we added arnica to some of those products. The government has done some secret clinical trials that you may not know about. They might have been keeping a secret. Let's take a look.
The government actually did a bunch of randomized controlled clinical trials on tens of thousands of people, testing to see if saturated fat and cholesterol caused heart disease. So they actually took groups of people, and they did this in mental hospitals where they totally controlled what people ate. And half the people they gave, meat, butter, cheese, regular high saturated fat and cholesterol diet, and half the people they, gave them soy-filled cheese and margarine instead of butter and soy-filled meat. And in those those rigorous experiments on tens of thousands of people, they could not show that the people eating the meat and the butter and the cheese died at higher rates from heart disease. In fact, they showed in one of the most famous experiments called the Minnesota Coronary Survey on 9,000 men and women over 4.5 years, they found the more the men lowered their cholesterol, the more likely they were to die of a heart attack. So what happened to all those experiments? They were not, that particular experiment wasn't published for 16 years. Other experiments I found sat in NIH, National Institute of Health basement, never published, ignored, not included, just ignored or suppressed. It's like out of a crime novel.
It's crazy.
And so what was the American Heart Association doing? Ignoring all those clinical trials.
So the American Heart Association is basically just almost protecting their incorrect statements of the past.
That's what they're doing. So, right.
Yeah, they protect it. Well, incorrect statements. I think it's just disinformation. I wonder where they got the information, like how it actually started. Was this from somehow with Rockefeller, or is this something that, they just, how do you even get that far down? Do you remember the commercials as a kid? I remember the commercials about, oh, I can't believe it's not butter. And, they were just selling that stuff like no tomorrow. And of course, I don't know that you see commercials now. I don't, because I don't see TV much. So I'm not sure. I don't really watch regular television. But I wonder if there's really commercials for, I can't believe it's not butter and all of those substitutes. Now, I can tell you, I buy grass-fed butter. And a lot of times I get it at the meat shop in town that, it's called the Fatted Calf, and they have, offer kinds of meats and stuff that are grass fed. And so we do that. And then we get our chicken there as well. And it tends to not have that, I don't know, those fat patterns. It's just, the chicken looks completely different than what you see in most grocery stores. And so I like that as well. And I get my eggs there, and I get my butter there for the most part. And so I don't know, but it's expensive to get grass-fed butter. But I get it. And I get the regular butter and the unsalted that way. Okay. So have you ever heard, when it comes to the healthcare system, of the charge master? I had not ever heard of the charge master before seeing this video, but I knew that we were being overcharged for, like, I had a friend that said that when she looked at her bill, an itemized invoice, which usually they don't send you unless you ask for it conveniently. But she said that she saw that when she had been in the hospital giving birth to her child, that this was years ago, that she saw where when she asked for the itemized bill, she was charged $6 for one Tylenol. $6. Take a look at this about the charge master.
Your hospital bill is fake. The secret charge master scam. That $47,000 hospital bill for your appendectomy, completely made up. Every hospital has a secret price list called the charge master. $200 for aspirin, $500 for a Band-Aid, $8,000 for a CT scan that cost them $97. Fantasy numbers designed to bankrupt you. Follow to see your hospital's actual cost sheets they're legally hiding. Hospitals create fake prices 1,000% above cost. Insurance negotiates down to 400% markup. You feel grateful. But Medicare pays the real price, $97 for that CT scan. You without insurance, $8,000. Same scan, different victim. Trump made hospitals post prices online in 2021. They buried them in coded files, made them unsearchable. Penalty, $300 per day. Houston Methodist makes that in 12 seconds. That appendectomy actually costs $1,800. They charge $47,000. Insurance pays $18,000. You owe $6,000 deductible. For a $1,800 procedure, the hospital CEO makes $21 million yearly creating fake prices. Your surgeon gets $2,000 regardless. Hospitals aren't broken. They're criminal, creating fake prices to steal from sick people, while claiming nonprofit status, paying zero taxes, taking your money twice.
Yeah, pretty crazy, huh? Okay, so I want to give you a tip, all right? Personal testimony of something that happened. I couldn't believe it when it happened, but it did. So when my son's accident happened, obviously he was in Vanderbilt Children's Hospital for a month. We get this horrendous, healthcare bill, obviously. I have healthcare, but there is a deductible. And I don't remember, I want to say it was like $6,000 or $8,000 that we owed at the time. And Vanderbilt Billing called me at one point and I said, well, what does it take for to get some kind of a reduction in the bill or assistance, like financial aid? Like, what does that look like? And so they said, the lady said, well, for a family of four, like how many people are your family for? Okay, well, for a family of four, you can't make more than, it was completely crazy. It was like $30,000 or something. Family of four living on $30,000 in order to be able to get financial aid. Are you kidding me? So I said, oh, well, never mind. That's not going to happen then. And she goes, well, let's just go on ahead and take care of it. I can help you on the phone and I can fill it all out while we're on the phone. I go, oh, well, we make more than $30,000. It's never going to happen. And she's like, well, let's just try it. You never know. They might actually discount a part of it. Oh, really? Okay. Well, it's like a grading scale. I mean, you just told me 31,000 or whatever it was. But okay, maybe, she's willing to do it for me while we're on the phone, says it just takes a minute. So she does. And then I guess it's about a month later, and I get a letter from Vanderbilt and they had completely written off the rest. They forget. I had to read the letter 3 times to make sure that I was understanding. They didn't do a partial, write off or discount or whatever you want to call it. They just forgave the whole thing. And whatever it was thousands of dollars. And so I don't really know why, because we made more than what the cutoff was. And I'm sure we probably didn't even qualify for a sliding scale. But the fact of the matter is, this is what I suspect it is. And I just want to point this out to you. This is my suspicions, okay? Because you think, well, why in the world would they do that? Well, my healthcare company had paid them thousands, tens of thousands of dollars. And so I think maybe they just looked at that and said, this case, our particular case, and just said, well, gosh, we've already gotten so much from the healthcare company from this case. We'll just write this off and call it a day. And so I think it might have something to do with the fact that we had healthcare. I could be completely wrong. I don't know. And that our healthcare had paid that. They had had enough time to pay it. I don't know, but I'm just saying it's always, always, always worth a try. And so I wanted to share that with you. I was absolutely stunned that we got any of it off, much less the whole thing forgiven. Stunned. Okay, so Donnie M says Cancer Treatment Centers of America wrote off a bunch of the hospital bill that the insurance didn't pay some years ago. They were wonderful. An unusual case. Wow, that's amazing. Taco Ride says, yes, I was billed $125 for a for a pair of felt pads to go into my shoes for foot pain. Insurance paid it, but much cheaper amount. Oh yeah, they'll do that too. So a lot of times if you go into like a doctor's appointment and you don't have health care, I know this is another thing where you can say, hey, look, I'm a cash customer, cash patient. And so what are your cash prices? And a lot of times they'll give you all different kinds of discounts based on that. And so I've heard story after story about that as well. Kazadu says, oh yeah, I got my itemized bill for my $80,000 back surgery. And now if I go back for anything, I will have a notebook, a pen, and a marker and mark everything when they come in the room. I know it is such a scam. That's right. That's right. Pierre's mom one says, once I was in the ER with a breathing issue and overheard a nurse in the next booth explain to this illegal that he wouldn't have to pay because he wasn't a citizen. Yes, you heard that correctly. Wow. Wow. Okay, that's eye-opening. Pierre's mom one. And of course, our government shut down right now because why? Because the Democrats are supposedly trying to get health care for illegals. So who's going to pay for that? It's just crazy. Oh my goodness. Deborah Lynn W says, when I had my first open heart surgery 25 years ago, I was being sued for $25,000 because my husband's self-insured company refused to pay the bill. I happened to be at jury duty and the case, it cut off. They didn't write. Oh, well, I don't think she's finished it yet. So we'll see. But I mean, oh my goodness. So just want to share those with those different examples to kind of give you some ideas and just file them away if you ever need it. All right. So many of my viewers have been writing me or even in the chat sometimes they ask me, how do we detox from the shot? Or many of my viewers, many of the Michelle family, they didn't get the shot, but they know that they maybe was exposed in one way or another to shedding. And so they're like, how do I make sure that I've done what I can do? And I came across this video of Barbara O'Neill talking about this. And so let's take a look.
I took the COVID shot. How do I get rid of the spike protein that is now in my body? I know that many people were blackmailed into taking the shot. But there are three things that will inhibit the spike protein producing the nanoparticles. One is zinc, the other is dandelion, and the dandelion can be the flower, the leaf, the root, or dandelion tea or coffee. And you don't have to take all of these, just one of them's enough, and white pine needle tea. But also, Dr. Peter McCulloch has a protocol, and I think that's fairly easy to access. So if someone has had the shot, they should be having one of these every day to inhibit the spike protein causing the nanoparticles. Nano is barely measurable. The problem with the nanoparticles is they're so small, but once you get 50 together, you start to get little clots.
Okay, so Bomb 1780 says, my husband broke his arm, no insurance. The first bill, when she asked, I guess, for an itemized bill, it was $500. $5,000 until we asked for a detailed bill. Yes, there it is. And so until we asked for a detailed bill. So they send you a bill and think about it. Y'all think. So when you get the bill, you never see the detailed itemization of how they get to that. So that's why you ask for it. In this case, Bomb 1780 is saying that when her husband broke his arm, they had no health insurance. And so the bill comes, it's $5,000. And so she says, where's the detailed bill? I'd like to see a detailed bill of how you got to $5,000. At that point, the detailed bill in which all was written off, but $700. They saved $4,300 by asking for a detailed bill. And so I don't think they really want us to know about the charge master. They don't want us seeing that they are charging $6 for a Tylenol, because they're going to be called out on that. They know they are. They know it's ridiculous, and they know it's fraudulent, because that's really what it is. It's just fraud. Anybody charging someone $6, like, how is that not fraud? And so Okay, Deborah Lynn W. says the jury duty case I was called for was a medical malpractice case. They asked me if I ever sued any doctor. I said no, but I was being sued because the company refused to pay the bill. Wow. She goes, I was dismissed. I bet you were. Oh, yeah. I bet they did dismiss you real quick. Okay. So the next one is your food real or fake? Take a look at this. Lots of stuff there. I thought that would be eye-opening. Okay, so the next one is what's in your spices. Let's take a look at this.
Don't buy McCormick spices. McCormick was sued for having heavy metals in their spices. Ground basil, ginger, and turmeric were among the products that were found heightened level of heavy toxic metals. These metals can cause cancer and serious damage to brain development.
Okay. Also, one of the things I've been doing is washing my rice before I cook it. I get organic rice. Of course, we know there's not really anything that's truly organic. The reason why I purchase organic, and you'll even see this, in tomorrow's newsletter where I talk about buying organic ingredients for my soup. And it's a knockoff of the Zuppa Toscana soup from Olive Garden, and it tastes better than Olive Garden's soup by far. My entire family unanimously agrees. And I say it's because of the ingredients, but I buy organic ingredients. And in my mind, it's not necessarily because at this point that organic is completely clean. I just hope and pray that it's less dirty, less poisonous, less toxic, less chemicals, less all the, crazy stuff. And so that's why I buy organic. Okay. Both of those were really good though, to be able to take a look at. I saw something else here. Kazadu says that she had back surgery. My copy of the bill was $500. Somehow they forgot to ask me for it, so I never had to pay the copay. That's awesome. That's awesome news. Oh, yes. Now I know what I wanted to talk about. BB Me says we don't have insurance. We raised 6 children without it, and thankfully we have not had any serious illnesses. We have always grown our own beef, raised chickens, and had large gardens. Well, BB Me, I was just saying to my husband a few months ago, we've always had health care, and it's gotten so horrible. I mean, it's really just catastrophic care. But the fact of the matter is, if you had a catastrophe happen where something terrible, were to happen and you needed urgent care, they're not going to turn you away at the ER. They're not going to do that. And so why are we paying for healthcare? And so, in kind of reflecting back and pondering and thinking about that, I've been saying the last quite a few months now to my husband, when we have healthcare through his work. And so obviously I don't have health care through mine. And so, because with being self-employed and just doing the show and Godly Granny. And so I said, why are we doing this? And I think we can get out of it at the end of the year. And so they kind of have like a period there that I think you can enroll or get out. And I'm hoping you can get out of it. And so, but we're paying for this every week. And we've paid a lot of money. And there's no prescription card. It just doesn't even make sense. And so even with right now, I went to the dentist. I found a health-based dentist, went to the dentist, had a cone beam scan, and just went this last Wednesday, so 2 days ago, to have a procedure. I had to come to find out, I had 3 mercury fillings. So I had one of the 3 already taken care of. This is a health-based dentist, so they're doing it in a safe way. And so, which is a whole nother thing that we've done shows on. And so I've had one of the 3 changed out now, and I'm going back a week from this Wednesday. So this next Wednesday. So in 10, 12 days, I'll be going back and I will be getting the other 2 done. And so having that done, but, and having all that mercury replaced and removed and replaced. So then also I had the cone beam scan done. So that way I could see if there was any infection, because most of the time there's infection. They are seeing some things that they think is infection, which would surprise me if there wasn't. And so that's why I'm going to also be going to a health-based type surgeon that does oral surgery to see about removing what's been done and then getting in there and cleaning out the infection. And so if you haven't seen the documentary Root Cause, I highly recommend you start with that and see what all they have to say about root canals, because that's what the cone beam scan comes in, is looking at those root canals, because they say just about everybody who's had a root canal has infection. And those infections can affect your health in all different kinds of ways, especially depending on which tooth it is. In fact, I've even spoken with Linda Bammer, who is the founder of the Wave Watch and creator. And remember, she's got a whole side of her business outside of Wave Watch that has to do with breast cancer and breast care. And she says almost every single time someone has breast cancer, guess what? The tooth that goes to the meridian line that has to do with your breast, they've had a root canal. I said, "You're kidding." She said, "No, not kidding." So there is a lot going on there. And so if you've got like chronic stuff going on and, look into this, look into it, watch Root Cause. You can find it on our website, on truthtalkamerica.com. It's something that we've run numerous times. We talk about it because it's so good. And then Christ Believer says that she sent Root Cause to her dentist. Good job. Now my health-based dentists, they're all truthers. They're hilarious. And so they're really funny, because that's what's so great is I'm in there, Wednesday morning. My appointment was at 7:00 in the morning. That's commitment. And so I got up at 5 in the morning and went to Nashville into downtown to get the dentist appointment taken care of. And that's a lot. And so, but they're all of them, they're all truthers. They're just great. And so they're awake. They know we were talking about shots for kids and, well checks and stuff while I'm sitting there in the dentist office. And so it's everywhere I go. I'm sure it is with you too. Oh my goodness. Donnie M says it's endless on reversing what has been done to us. Yeah. I mean, 3 teeth with mercury fillings, and now I'm worrying about a root canal and just crazy stuff. So anyways, okay. So I've seen some of you talking about nicotine, and the nicotine, I've purchased nicotine. And so I'm planning on doing this as well. I have not done the patches yet, getting ready to. So I did this. This is a 7 milligram, but I'm planning on cutting the strips. And so I got the clear nicotine transdermal system patch. And it's the 7 milligram, but I'm going to cut those to where it's more about 2 milligrams. And so we're going to see. Now, I talked with a viewer back months ago who said she was the sickest she had been when she started doing this for about 2 days. So I've been waiting to do this on a Friday. So that way, if I get sick as a dog, because I think it's just detoxing. She said that as soon as she got about 2 days into it, she was great. And so, but it was clearly not curing, but clearing up something that was going on in her system. She had been very sick. She had also been getting her dental stuff done. And so it was very interesting to hear her experiences from some of the things that we had been talking about. She had seen where we ran root cause, and that started that. And so, okay, that process for her. Okay, so lots of stuff. The next one is I've been on iodine for quite a while now. And, iodine can help you with your thyroid. I have shared that before about when my son's accident happened 10 years ago, that it shot out the stress and the trauma from it all, shot out my adrenals, which then in turn took out my thyroid and then also sent me into early menopause. And so all different kinds of stuff going on there. But I had read back quite a few years ago that iodine, got to be careful with iodine. Don't take too much, but you can take a few drops. And so iodine is good for you to help you with your thyroid. Well, I came across this video, thought it was very interesting, wanted to share it with you. Have you ever thought about or heard about how iodine can have an effect on the IQ level of an unborn baby? Take a look at this.
Have the baby take 3.125 milligrams of iodine. This is cool. It increases the baby's IQ above the mother's IQ on average of 10 to 15 points. They're getting kids whose mothers do this that are menses. And they're just showing up out of nowhere in areas that these school systems, we're not talking at Cape Canaveral. We're not talking Oak Ridge. We're not talking at Huntsville, rocket scientists. We're talking country folk that are doing it. Their kids are turning out menses. And so it's huge.
Wow.
This is where it gets even more crazy. Does fluoride displace iodine in the body? Oh yes, it does. Does fluoride lower children's IQ? Oh yes, it does. And it's dose dependent. The more fluoride exposure, the lower the IQ. Keep in mind there are other things aside from tap water that contain fluoride. If I was serious about protecting my child's IQ, I would be removing fluoride with natural minerals, and I would be supplementing with iodine, not medical advice.
Okay, so let's also take a look at the root cause documentary image that producer Ron has. He has scheduled it for tonight at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. He's got it airing on Truth Talk America, so you can see it on the Truth Talk America Rumble channel or on truthtalkamerica.com. You can see it there as well, and anywhere else that Truth Talk America airs. So he says the documentary is 24/7 live streaming on Truth Talk America, and also Boxcast for Roku, Fire TV, and Apple TV. And of course, what I was saying about the Rumble channel, Truth Talk America has its own Rumble channel as well. So you can see it there as well. Now, today is October the 3rd. It's 3 p.m. Central Standard Time right now, or we're really almost 4. And so if you're watching this later, just keep that in mind. And so you'll want to make sure to check out the Rumble channel and just go through all the shows until you find it, if you're watching this a day or two later. Okay. All right. So thank you, producer Ron, for getting that done. Okay. The next one is, are we like a car battery? Let's take a look.
It's proved at the turn of the century that the human body is almost 80%, 90% water. And it's also got electrolytes in it, which we know to be salt, potassium, different minerals. That means we're a salt battery. No different than the car battery, different than something like that. And there's a patent actually called the Cali patent, which I'll hold up here for the camera to see. And this patent actually was developed in 1897, and not much has been done with it because at that time everyone was afraid of electricity. In this case, Dr. Clark developed a product using a 9-volt battery. And I'll just show you in the back here. There it is, 9-volt battery. And this particular unit, you just snap on your wrist with 2 wristbands.
We'll have a minute. Yeah.
You snap it on your wrist just to prove that I'm a circuit. I push the little green light, and the thing is on. And if I put my hands together, you can hear that I'm a circuit, and I'm a closed circuit at this point. Now with
Why do we get a sound when you put your hands together?
Because I closed the circuit. Now when I take my hands apart, obviously the electricity is now being able to flow through the body. The electricity can't go through the digestive tract, so in the digestive tract, to kill the microorganisms, the specific parasites, she's found the effectiveness of the black walnut, which the native Indians used for cleansing many years ago. The black walnut, in its green hull form, kills many of the microorganisms. And in conjunction with another product called wormwood and cloves, typical cloves that you would get at the store, these three in combination have the ability to go in and kill all the pathogens.
What three? So black walnut, wormwood, and cloves. Oh, interesting. Okay, so he was talking about this years ago. You can see the video is black and white. Looks pretty old, but I thought that was quite interesting. That those were the three things that he had. Okay, so also let's take a look. We had a gentleman that I came across this video. I've seen a number of his videos, especially on Facebook. He is a doctor. He had gotten the C word and he cured himself. And so he claims he's cured from it. And so I don't recall what kind of cancer he had. I don't recall. So let's take a look. Maybe he says it in the video. I don't remember. I've seen a number of his videos, but let's listen to what he says about what all he took.
The last of my time. I didn't just use ivermectin or fenbendazole. I paired them with black walnut, artemisinin, and wormwood. When I was first diagnosed with a grade 4 diffuse astrocytoma brain cancer, I knew I needed to build a terrain that cancer couldn't survive in. So I didn't just use off-script antiparasitic drugs like ivermectin and fenbendazole. I also paired them with powerful natural compounds like black walnut, like wormwood, and artemisinin. Why? Because parasites, metabolic dysfunction, and chronic inflammation are all a part of the same terrain, and these compounds target them from different angles. Ivermectin and fenbendazole is proven to shut down microtubules, block glucose, and inhibit tumor blood supply. Black walnut is antiparasitic and antifungal, cleansing the gut and terrain. Artemisinin selectively triggers oxidative stress in cancer cells and may target iron-loaded tumors. Wormwood disrupts parasites and supports bile flow and detoxification, critical when cancer or treatment slows down elimination. This combo isn't crazy, it's very strategic. I stacked science, strategy, scripture, and surrender. It's how I rebuilt my terrain and walked out with a normal brain scan only 4 months later.
Brain cancer. Okay, so he shares the whole thing. Donnie M, I forgot to say this. So on the second month, you said you're on your second month of detoxing with the Robin's Hood detox system. We had Kim Rogers on, who founded that company, Rogers Hood Apothecary. And so she has a whole system. One of the reasons why I liked it is she has a metals detox and then also a binder. And so you can look in the show description to be able to find how to get a discount and all that kind of stuff if you decide you want to do something like that. But or you can always email me, Michelle@NashvilleMichelle.com, and we'll make sure to help you. If you are outside of the country and you want some help internationally with some of the shipping, they have another incentive for that too. So to help you with that, so you can always email me and I'll get that for you and to you. And so, but Donnie M says that you're seeing a difference. What kind of differences are you seeing? I'd be interested to hear what your experience has been like, honey. And so be sure to let me know if you could put it in the chat, and producer Ron will look for it and bring it over so that way I can see it too. Okay. And I'll share it here on the show if you get it in time. All right. So I came across another Barbara O'Neill video that I thought was interesting. Now, anything to do with magnesium, by taking the magnesium creams that we have with Godly Granny, I got to tell you, so much has changed. And so I'm not having hot flashes. My left eye doesn't twitch anymore. I do the stress relief in the morning. I do the night boost, the magnesium boost night cream at night, sleep wonderful, all of that kind of stuff. And so I can tell that the magnesium has made a big difference for me. And obviously, when you look, magnesium actually supports like 300 different systems in our body. So twitching, like my left eye twitching is one of them. Another one is it actually helps your heart to be regulated with your heartbeat. And so, so there's so much. You can go to godlygranny.com and go to the resources page, and we have the listing for you of all different kinds of stuff that it does for you and your body. So just want to give you a heads up and remind you about that as well. But listen to what Barbara O'Neill said about what leaches magnesium. There are things that we eat or things that we can drink and do that will actually deplete your magnesium levels. It works against us. Let's take a look.
one drink that leaches the magnesium and the calcium out of the body, and that is caffeine. Now, there was a bit of a groan last night when I mentioned this one. And most people don't realise that that coffee is a huge contributing factor to dehydration, to heart malfunction, and also to imbalance in heartbeats. So there are some things that have to stop if you want to keep the heart withal diligent, and one of them is caffeine, because of the way it leaches the magnesium out of the body. And as you can see by what I just described, magnesium is so important. Anyone that comes to me with high blood pressure, we do quite a few changes, but we always supplement with magnesium because it keeps that heart muscle at rest. You see, your systolic is your high point and your diastolic is your bottom one. It relaxes that diastolic and brings it down a little bit. And the Celtic salt can do that. But how often are people with high blood pressure told to what? No salt. When everyone at work is going out to get their coffee or their cigarette to get a boost, you just get your crystal of Celtic salt, put it on your tongue, have a glass of water, and you watch that little energy boost that you will get. And you won't get the drop like they will all get. They might get initial rise, but then there's always a corresponding drop.
Yeah. All right. We got a viewer that says, as Deborah Lynn W. said, I really wish that I knew about these helpful things before my sister died from pancreatic cancer on July the 16th, 2023. She really suffered. You know, Deborah, I'm so sorry to hear about that. I'm sure she did suffer. There's so much of that happens. And that is part of why I've been so passionate about doing and covering these kinds of things. And so I think that it's just, there's a calling for this. It's important. And we want to make sure that we get you the information to help you. Donnie M says the Robin's Hood is helping my body shape change, Michelle. Of course, my tummy is reducing, but overall changes. That's amazing. And so you're on your second month. That's amazing. Congratulations, Donnie M. That's wonderful news. All right. So, and Doberman Mommy says, okay, I guess I need to give up coffee. Oh, or said, dang. Yeah. I mean, there's just, I'm glad I don't drink coffee because it just, so much stuff about coffee that it's like, holy moly. And I'm glad, you know, it's just looking back, so many things that habits I'd never picked up that thank goodness I didn't. So, all right, well, let's go on ahead to the next one. We got another video. Did you know this about fluoride? Let's take a listen about fluoride again.
People, I really am excited to talk about this. Most people, including dentists, and when I mean most, I mean no one knows this. Do you know where the fluoride, do you know where it comes from? The fluoride that's added to the water. It's from the phosphate fertilizer companies. It's hydrofluorosilicic acid.
It's a byproduct.
That's the nice way to put it. Yeah. It's a waste product. A waste product that they're not allowed to dispose of. Because when they were disposing of it, everything around the plants was dying. Yeah. So they had to start figuring out what to do with their waste. So they said, oh, perfect. We're going to bottle it. We're going to show that fluoride's great for your teeth. So we're going to bottle this acidic, nasty form of it, and we're going to sell it back to the counties. So just like everything else, our tax dollars are paying to poison us. And it's just insanity.
It's the biggest level of insanity, and it's very typical of the systems.
I think it's the biggest. It's our water. Yeah, we are 70% water. And so when
Okay, we have run numerous documentaries on the Truth Talk America network, Rumble channel, and the network all the way around, right? And then we've also run it on the Michelle Moore Show, Rumble channel. And I have to tell you, there are so many interesting documentaries and educational videos. Some of them are only like 20 or 25 minutes long. The things that whistleblowers have come forward and shared, and they know, like people. There is no way that these municipalities, at least high up, don't know these things about fluoride. This stuff is so toxic, so dangerous, and they are putting in our water. And just like earlier, did you hear where we're talking about earlier in another video where it was saying that, you know, it lowers the IQ? They know this. I've known this. Watch the documentaries and you'll learn these things if you don't already know it and you haven't seen those things. But the information is out there. We have helped to make sure that it's out there and stays out there. And by the way, a lot of these videos we have on hard drives. So if they ever try to wipe this stuff out, we have them. And so that way we can make sure that this stuff continues to go on to future generations as well. But I can tell you, Rumble does not do any kind of censorship for us. YouTube can make our life a living hell and would if they could all the time, I think. But as far as Rumble really has, our experience with them is they are completely free speech and are doing a good job. So it's interesting. And they tell us that they're thrilled that we're on Rumble. So that's all I can tell you. But here on Rumble, if you're watching on Rumble, I think that they're doing a good job to helping us to get the word out and haven't given us any problems that I can really, other than when they started with the ads and all that stuff. But that was their model changed and we had no control over any of that. And they readily admit to us that they made some mistakes with that as far as ads too often and all that kind of stuff. So it must be better now because I haven't heard any feedback from viewers. And so I'm assuming so. I only know usually if I hear from somebody what's going on from that side of things. So, okay. Have you ever seen this? This is so crazy. I think it's in Virginia. Now we'll see if his video shows us where he's located, but I think he's outside of DC, out of DC, maybe an hour or so. But this gentleman has a creative way for your fur babies to be able to get their exercise. Take a look at this. It's amazing.
Finding it hard to believe we're in heaven. We're in heaven.
Isn't that cool? He's got a bunch of videos. Now it says, it said Halifax, I think, and I was thinking that was Virginia, but maybe not. I'll have to look that up. Maybe we can do a follow-up on that on Monday and update you. But he's got a bunch of videos with a bunch of different dogs getting their exercise. And so that's pretty amazing. Producer Ron, check your email. I just forwarded you an email with a video that I want to play. I have not seen it. It's breaking news, and we'll play that after this next video. So got a funny video for you. So apparently this couple goes out of town. They take their dog over to a friend's house. The friend is like cooking Wagyu steak and all kinds of stuff, nice chicken for the dog. And so the dog comes back home when the owners come back. Well, the dog was not very happy. And so let's take a look. Let's see how this goes.
Eat your food.
She's mad because we left for 3 days and we left her with a babysitter who spoiled her rotten and fed her, cooked her steak, cooked her filet mignon, cooked her salmon, cooked her Wagyu. And now she thinks she's too good for her dog food. Marcella, you need to eat your dog food.
Those days are over. They're not coming back. Come on back to the real world.
Marcella, I have this for you, okay? Look. Come here.
Marcella's not having it, just not having it. Look, I got Flash up. He's been sleeping. Flash had to go to the groomer. He looks, instead of looking like a mutt, he actually looks like a purebred. He always gets on here and then yawns. All right, producer Ron, let's take a look at this breaking news. So apparently, music mogul Sean Diddy Combs has been sentenced to 4 years and 2 months in prison following his conviction of transportation for prostitution. That's all he's getting convicted of, apparently. Let's take a look at this video and see what they're saying.
Behind bars for Sean Diddy Combs. It comes after Diddy pleaded for mercy, stood up and addressed the judge inside the courtroom. In a shaken voice, he apologized to Cassie Ventura. He apologized to that former girlfriend, again known as Jane. And he said he was sorry to all other victims of domestic violence. Diddy called his own behavior disgusting, shameful, and sick. And he said it cost him his career, his reputation, and his family.
Okay, do you hear the way that she words that too? It's like, oh, he pleaded. I mean, whose side are they on? This reminds me the other day, I think it was yesterday, I was on Facebook and Brian and Kim Mannix were talking about Notre Dame. I guess the college, there's another, thing coming up that's tied in with the college. And it had something to do with sex abuse victims. And so it was talking about how they failed the sex abuse victims. And I was like, when do they not? Everybody, I mean, that's the story. That's the name of the game. Just a different day. And so when have they not? But the reporter sitting there saying all that, so I think it's a travesty. How in the world all the stuff he did, and you're saying 4 months and 4 years and 2 months? That's a joke. In my opinion, that is a complete joke. And they're saying it has to do with transportation of prostitution. Anybody talking about were those children that were being transported because maybe they were needing to be having transportation because they couldn't drive because they're too young? Is that what was going on? So we'll see as that story unfolds through the weekend. But yeah, got off easy because of his clients. I think maybe got off easy. We'll see. Yeah, trying to make sure that, I don't know. I just think that so much of that is just a joke. Is it because of his client, because he knows too much about people that are too influential and all that kind of stuff, the system being rigged still after all these years? This is why I have a problem with so much stuff, and why I always say, I think there's so much of this that, again, this is another thing that we're not seeing justice on. If you want to think that 4 years and 2 months is justice, no, it's not. This is not a win. This is another joke. And so as far as I'm concerned, I'm just frustrated with the whole situation. And quite frankly, for this to be released on a Friday afternoon, y'all have heard me talk about Friday afternoons before. That's another one. They let you know news on Friday afternoons because they know you're going to be busy mowing the yard, having some family time, distracted from what's really going on in the world a lot of times. And they just want it to die down and people not even really hardly notice it. That's what's going on. This is even intentional. I have talked about Friday afternoons many times before, and I noticed that trend years ago and gone, that's another Friday afternoon, another thing. Divorces of famous people a lot of times get announced on Friday afternoons, court cases Friday afternoons. There's a reason for it, especially if they're controversial and they're not really for the people, just like this, where it's disgusting. Okay. Well, I saw that breaking news come through. I had planned on showing about how the dog didn't like being poor as the last thing and ending on a happy note, but it just didn't work out that way. It's okay. But it's going to be look, do not let the enemy steal our joy, right? And so I hope y'all have a great weekend. Enjoy some time out in the sun. Be healthy. I was just talking with producer Ron again today about, we just have to remember that what good does it do that anything good is going on in the world if we're too sick to enjoy it. So these things about our health is first and foremost. This is the temple for the Holy Spirit. And this is very important for us to take care of ourselves. And so I bless you all and pray nothing but blessings and health and happiness. And I will see you right here next time, Monday, on the Michelle Moore Show.
Hi, I'm Linda Bamber Olson, the inventor of the Wave Watch, the world's first frequency therapy watch. It features over 1,100 targeted frequencies combined into 150 playlists for ease of use. These sounds are acoustical and they move through your body, through your skin and your bones. You don't necessarily have to hear it. As each frequency goes through, it can be realigning, revitalizing, reconnecting, and even rebalancing your body all the way to the cellular level. So that's why we have so many testimonies for aches, ADD and ADHD, allergies, colds and flu, dental, emotions, headaches, joints, kidney stones, nerves, organs, skin health, swelling, tremors, vagus nerve, and so many more. Use this code for $100 off when you purchase the Wave Watch. Thanks for learning about frequencies, using them, and supporting the Wave Watch.
Did you know your cell phone emits radiation that has been linked to increased risk of certain types of cancers? This is why manufacturers include hidden warnings to keep your phone away from your body. And what's worse is that children are more susceptible to the potentially damaging effects. Safe Sleeve for cell phones is a case specifically designed to block radiation. Its shielding technology integrated into the case has been tested in a third-party FCC accredited lab to block over 99% of RF and 92% of ELF radiation emitted by your phone. It also functions as a stand for watching videos and comes in a magnetically detachable style for some devices. Safe Sleeve also offers anti-radiation cases for tablets and laptops and has free shipping in the U.S. plus discounted worldwide shipping is available. Go to truthtalkamerica.com today and click on the Safe Sleeve banner on the home page. Use the discount code FIRST10 at checkout for 10% off your first order.
Hi friends, it's Michelle Moore. And when it comes to protecting your retirement, I believe in taking smart, steady steps. Bank of America analysts call gold the ultimate safe haven, and when it comes to precious metals, I trust Universal Coin and Bullion, the official rare coin and bullion dealer of my show. They have been named the best in their industry both nationally and regionally by leading organizations. Consider a gold IRA, a time-tested way to diversify your portfolio with real tangible assets, which lets you move a portion of your retirement savings into physical gold, helping protect your wealth from inflation, market swings, and economic uncertainty. And Universal Coin and Bullion makes the process easy. From rollovers to delivery, they walk you through every step, even if you have one with another gold company. Protect what you've worked so hard to build from the team that I trust, Universal Coin and Bullion, at 800-321-8700, and make sure to tell them Michelle sent you.
There aren't a lot of reasons to use Godly Granny products. There's every reason, because every time you twist or flip a cap on something from Godly Granny, you're voting no to chemicals and yes to common sense, but without all the electronic voting machines. With Godly Granny, there's no toxins, no chemicals, no endocrine disruptors, no cancer-chasing filler. Godly Granny is a small batch, made-to-order, deeply naturopathic wellness brand. Founded on biblical truth, formulated with pure purpose, and handcrafted by saved folks who know that freedom doesn't come from fake lavender and phthalates. Go to godlygranny.com today. Be sure and use the discount code Michelle10 at checkout to receive 10% off your entire order.
For Michelle's social media links, go to MichelleMooreShow.com.